time, even though they might think that they didn't do anything wrong, like our society still says no matter what they think it's wrong. Do you guys think that that's the same thing for good and evil? Like there's something that is evil no matter what they think?
So you're saying, like, does intention matter?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that to some extent it does, but it also, like, you have to kind of, I'm not explaining myself very well, but you have to sort of bring in, like, you know, intention is sort of a complicated thing. You can, like, so people, the example they used of Hitler saying, like, he thought this was the right thing to do, he was also a complete narcissist. He was, like, obsessed with himself and getting himself power, and supposedly he thought he was helping the world, but he was also just, like, so, I mean, I guess it sort of depends on the kind of intention.
Yeah, and I think that also, Bosco raised a point about, like, is good or evil based on your morals, or is it based on, like, society, like, what? I think that it's kind of based on both, because how you get your morals and how you get, you know, what you believe in sort of comes from the society that you were born into and from your surroundings and other things like that contribute to how you feel about different sorts of things. So
I think they, like, overlap.
Yeah, I think that they kind of intertwine together with each other.
Yeah, I think, like, what he said, your morals are kind of, like, shaped off of the society you live in. I agree with that because, you see, like, in some, like, really, like, in places where, like, the society is kind of geared towards, like, violence, a lot of the people that grow up in that society wind up themselves being, like, the same. They follow their society because it kind of, like, it's in their moral, like, on the most part. And then people that are, people that grow up in, I don't know, I just think that, like, that good and evil is kind of defined by society, but, yeah.
I mean, so what you guys were saying about society, what do you guys think of, like, what about people that end up with opinions that are completely different than their societies? How do you guys think that sort of happens if we're shaped by our society?
Well, I personally think it's like, you know, your parents and, like, what they were raised in. Like, at a certain point, you know, even if you're raised a certain way and you decide to maybe, like, change your ideas or change your views on how you view something, that change wouldn't have occurred if you weren't raised in a certain way, you know? So I think that no matter what happens about what you believe in the future or what you believe, you know, in the present or the past, it all had to do with how you were brought up or raised, I think.
So you're saying, like, they couldn't change their views if they didn't have views in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, I think, are you, like, saying, like, so pretty much are you saying that people are like they are mostly because of the way they're raised?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I think everyone's gonna be their own person or something. I don't think it's entirely on how you're raised, but I think it definitely helps. But I think that might be one of the reasons why Casey said that some people have different opinions, because I think no matter what, like, no matter what happens to someone, like, that person when they get older is still gonna be themselves. Like, that's who they are, and that might not be exactly like
that gets back to that nature versus nurture question.
Yeah.
I think that, like, a lot of it is mostly, well, I mean, I don't really know. I know this is, like, not a very good answer, but I think that it's both. Because for the people that, you know, end up being, like, serial killers or, like, cannibals or just, like, evil people that do things, like, on purpose to be evil or whatever, like, I think that comes from mostly psychological aspects that you're born with, like, some kind of chemical imbalance or, like, but I think that for someone to, like, develop, like, if they're like becoming someone different and their views are changing because of their environment, I think that there has to be something, like, in your brain that lets you kind of, like, take on those, you know, those characteristics and, like, what you think. Because, yeah, I mean, I think that you're born, I think that someone is born evil or good, even though I don't believe in evil, so, like, good or bad.
Or maybe maybe like
Wait, why don't you believe in evil?
Because like, what's evil?
What's bad? Like, I understand bad, but okay, but then can't someone be so bad? Does that mean can someone just be really, really bad, but it's still not evil?
In my head, like, I think of people that are that psychologically like effed up that I feel bad for them. I don't think they're evil. Like, I don't think that they.
You think that it's something that they were just unfortunately
So, like,
kind of
sort of almost
imbalanced?
pity them for how twisted.
Yes, that just.
So if Hitler were diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, you would feel bad for him?
I wouldn't feel bad.
Well, I
No,
think that he
I
does
wish
like
not.
he would deserve to die, but I don't think that like I mean
Crazy people should.
I don't know. I don't think that
What?
I'm
I'm kind of-
not
Can't
saying-
help
I'm not
crazy
trying to
people,
guilt
they should
trip
all
you.
die.
I'm
You
thinking
have a valid
more
point.
of kind of like
Crazy.
the people that because when you think of evil, like I don't know. I mean, at least for me, I think more of people that are just so messed up in their head that they don't have any, you know.
They don't think that what
They're
they're
they
doing is
can't
wrong.
they're not capable of being leaders like Hitler because they are so they're so insane that they can't like have that kind of
I don't know if there's a real answer. There's someone good at it.
I honestly
There's so
change
many
my
contradictions.
every time we talk about this I have like
this.
new ideas that
Yeah.
contradict my last.
Exactly.
There's
There's
so
so many
Is that a
like.
habit of mine?
There's so many different
Thinking
factors.
flexibly? Right.
Yeah.
I wrote that down.
There are so many different factors
Good.
that go into some different people's opinions on the same issue that, like, if you were to take into account, like, everyone's opinion, it would just form into, like, this massive,
I know. 'cause,
never-ending
like,
discussion
So
about
this leads me to a question here, right? The overarching question, which is really hard, and it's in your course overview here, and we're going to just barely touch on this year in terms of, you could spend the rest of your lives talking about this. The question is, what is truth?
What is truth?
All right.
Let's do
So
it. Let's do it.
are there universal truths that we should be able to agree on? Okay. So, and I would define a truth as something that goes just beyond facts, right? Like the sky is blue.
No.
We could probably agree with that, but
Gravity.
maybe not if we're colorblind, right? But something like we should never, genocide is never the answer. All right, if I made a statement like that, and then under no circumstances should you try to go kill an entire race or subsection of human beings, right? Should every person on the earth be able to agree upon that? Is that possible? Or is there just no way for human beings to agree on just even something that basic?
Yeah, I think that, like, even something that basic, like genocide, should, like, never occur in any society, but, like, you think about all the extremes that, like, possibly, like, maybe, like, could happen, like, maybe all these people are diseased, and if they, you know, if they go to, like, a different part of the world, they disease everyone else, like, maybe, like, in some crazy scenario, it might, like, be rational, but, like, I don't know, so, like, I don't think that the whole, you know, everyone in the world could maybe, like, agree on that, even,
Like what I two things. I think one of the things that makes it so not everyone would agree on it is I think our world is just naturally everyone's different, and I think that's one of the reasons why not everyone would agree on that. And I feel like people sometimes try to be like too perfect, if you get what I'm saying. Like, okay, yeah, if you think that's the right thing to do to not have genocide, that so sad, too bad, because there are going to be some people who disagree.
Do you think humans will always
Yeah,
come
that's
up with a reason to kill large groups of other humans? You don't think we would ever reach a point where we were sophisticated enough to figure out that that's not in our
Well, I don't know
the
if
best
necessarily it
interest
will
of our
happen. I'm like,
no way.
I'm saying
We're
it could
doing it at the
happen.
moment.
Like people might think that, but it could not happen.
I think with the growing population and, like, everything else, I think that there's no way that would ever,
Agreed.
that everyone would agree on something like that, because there's so many, you know, different types of places, and, you know, it's just growing and growing, and there's more and more different, you know, scenarios where you can be brought up in where, you know, different crazy parents or different sorts of things like that, but
But isn't as the population grows, as technology improves, technology plays a role here too, right?
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't, through the internet, you can have, you can friend people on the other side of the world, you can communicate. Wouldn't those, to play devil's advocate, wouldn't those communication lines help kind of clear up some of the fear and mistrust? Could you reach
But
a
it's
point
all
where...
going to the same people.
What's that?
Yeah, like I feel like we're getting new technology, but it's all just going to the same people who already had it.
Yeah.
What if
those people?
What if someone what if some poor person in Africa thought they should kill everyone and they couldn't get the technology, so it would make a difference.
So right now the digital divide is too great for technological advances in communication to really have an impact?
Well, has there ever been a time when everyone's the same, like,
Okay, so what I think.
or anything like
What
that?
I think, my opinion,
That's the question.
is that no. I understand what you're saying, but I've been like dying to say this. Okay, so what I think is that like kind of one of the reasons that that human beings are kind of like the most advanced, like the most advanced like species on Earth is that we're kind of geared to develop,
Yeah.
and like we're geared to like the betterment of our society by like people build cities and like more population growth and like they get along with each other and like work together to accomplish things, and that's also just like it's kind of become like set in our like if somebody wanted to commit like genocide and stuff, it wouldn't be for the betterment of our society. It would be really bad for our society. So like, well, there's all these aspects of it being evil though. Like the ultimate thing is though, it would really negatively like affect our society usually, unless there's like a zombie apocalypse or whatever. No, but like, yeah.
Okay, let him finish.
No, but that's basically it. It's just like the truth is that while there is good and evil, apparently like there's things classified as good and evil. Like if you were to go out and kill a bunch of people, it would have like a big effect on a lot of other people and or like that society in general, and that's just like why people view it as bad.
Why do you think that, like, when we were monkeys, and fish even, like, why, what? Okay. Like, why were we made into the dominant species? And also, why, like, think of all the other species on Earth, like, they're due to, like, certain scientific things, like natural selection. You'll see when I finish my sentence. Think of all dogs. There are some dogs that are, like, are any dogs born, like, mentally retarded? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yes.
Okay, but, like, dogs aren't born, like, evil or, like, good. So why are we the only species that are born of being capable of being born with different psychological qualities? Like, what made us
I think that it's.
Brain comes
that
first.
species?
I think that it has to do with. I think all of that. All those questions of human domination. I think it all goes back to the human brain. Physically speaking, humanity has nothing on other species on Earth. If it was all based on physicality, we would never be dominant. I think that it has to do with.
So we have opposable thumbs, and we have.
Yeah, but
So do like opossums.
Yeah.
No, but we can make tools.
Yeah,
We can make
bears.
tools. No. We can make tools with opposable thumbs.
Well, opossums have opposable thumbs, but they don't make
How many
tools.
That means
tools,
all bears.
CJ, if we didn't have the most
Intelligent
sophisticated brains?
So, like, what if, when like, in prehistoric times, when they, like, okay, like, what, okay. So, there's, like, dinosaurs, like, the reptiles, and then there's, like, birds, and then there's fish.
Right.
Like, when they branched off, I kind of lost my train of thought, but...
No, I see what you mean. Like, why did we branch off to become what we are?
Why did we keep growing? Why did we keep?
Yeah. Well,
Why
the
did we
thing.
keep advancing?
Okay, like, I can't even, like, think of what I'm trying to ask, but...
Well, no, I think. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The thing, like you said with the dogs, I think, like, why are we the only, species that can be born, like, different, than I think that like it also has to do with dogs. Like the dogs, you know, like there are like mean dogs and there are really nice dogs, and the mean dogs, you know, sometimes like come from really bad, like they're born into like these crazy homes in like Mexico where like there's like 100 dogs in one room or something.
Whoa there.
And like those dogs who like no, I'm serious.
Are
And then,
dogs
like
a metaphor
those
for,
dogs
like,
like
people,
like
or-
small like rescue dogs or whatever who get
Why do they have to be
saved by
Mexican?
like all these like organizations and
That's
stuff.
racist. Why do they have to be
That's
Mexican?
not racist.
It's not
at all.
racist. It's
Yeah,
just
it
an
is. I
example.
see
That's
dog
true.
quarter things
That
all the
happens.
time. and they're
Look, the
eating
audience
it.
in the Fishbowl are restless, so I'm going to intervene real quick here. I have one more question for the Fishbowl. By the way,
Why do they have to be
just because
Mexican?
the audience is restless doesn't mean that you guys have to change this up. Maybe that's a function of problems within the audience members
They're gonna
themselves.
sub.
We should change that.
This is an example of how you can
Something
get
to
way
say.
out there pretty
Dinosaurs.
quickly. Alright? I'm going to ask a question that pulls it back directly to the text here. Alright? So I'm going to model this. If I were up there, I would be like, okay, I'd politely but honestly be like, yeah, this is interesting, you guys, but I have a question to direct us back to the text. This would be a good one to ask on, I think. Okay, so I think this will tie together all three texts that we're talking about here, because in a way we're talking about feed before we've even read it. Okay, but feed deals with the power of the internet and the power for both, positive and negative effects on society.
No.
If the internet existed in China in the early 1970s, how would that have affected these characters and their lives and scenes?
I mean,
I think the whole process of re-education would be completely different. It would,
yeah,
it would be over the internet because they would be able to branch out to so many different types of people across the country.
How would re-education take place over the internet?
If you have the internet, you can totally go against the re-education though, that's the thing. Like, you have so much more power, you wouldn't be able to be forced to do that, I feel like.
But isn't the internet like still in like China and North Korea kind of like
Censored.
censored and stuff like that?
It
So
is.
yeah.
so
China
would it
doesn't-
necessarily be a huge
They
difference?
they heavily censor Google.
So,
Google.
For your, you're going to have an end of the year project here, and this is a possible topic to use in the end of the year project, right? If you look at the internet and you want to analyze, whether this is a tool for democracy or maybe a tool for dictators to use to consolidate power, with every piece of technology, there are probably good and negative applications of that technology, right? I'll tell you just briefly, in China, yes, there's censorship. There was a big deal. They blocked Google at a certain point, and they blocked a lot of different websites. However, the beauty of the internet is that there are always, and you can ask any hacker this, right? There is always a way around the authority. It doesn't mean that everybody has access to it, but you look at social networking and how that's been used in the Arab Spring and a lot of the revolutions over in the Middle East. Despite the government trying to shut things down, right? So it is not totally censored in China. They do try to use it to censor, and they do use it to spy on people, so that's another aspect here. Okay? They can monitor what sites you're going to, and that can be used against you. Okay? But let's just say this, it's impossible to censor the internet 100%.
Yeah, because they can't control every piece of text that
Right.
goes out on Facebook.
Peer-to-peer networks.
Yeah.
Okay, you think about how you guys steal music and movies and get away with it?
Yeah.
Okay? So there are a lot of avenues that can bypass the authority.
What's up?
But there's also like, I mean, there's also what? So Ria, you have a question?
That's what they punish those that they can.
Mine's actually kind of a question too, but just go.
Focus on the fishbowl here, you guys.
I mean, if it was, so we're talking about this like remote mountain in China that they got sent to, right? And if you really think about it,
In the book.
in the book,
Oh, right. I thought you were talking. Okay.
I mean, if you think about it, the internet is getting more and more universal and more global, but it's not completely. And it's possible that maybe they would have still got sent to that mountain, and maybe they wouldn't actually have had internet access. So to some extent, it might not have affected re-education. It would have affected the way they were before they went into it, but it might not have affected.
That's true.
But then think about Occupy Wall Street, how they are like, okay, like let's say there's people that don't believe in the re-education. They can all get together and like show the people that do have access to those things.
And then they get shot.
Occupy Beijing.
Except they tried to do that at one point, and a bunch of tanks came, and there's like one guy standing, and he's like, yeah.
Remember those
Yes,
the
Oakland.
tank
Like,
man,
there's
the
no-
tank man.
There's like fear gas.
No, but they
There
killed
is.
a ton of people.
He's
in
right.
China
There was a
that were-
Chinese one too.
Yeah.
There was.
And also, like,
May-
if you
May
think
4th
about
Amendment.
Occupy
No,
Wall
it
Street
was-
and
it
like
was a different one. It was like after the war.
and like how it basically was the start of Occupy Wall Street where they marched on the Brooklyn Bridge.
No, it started a few weeks before that.
Okay. Was it only in New York though at that time, kind of?
It
Or-
started in New York. It was started by a nonprofit called Adbusters, actually.
Okay.
Started very small and started in New York.
Yeah. So it kind of like started in New York, and once they made like a big headline, for example, like they stopped the Brooklyn Bridge and things, like right now, compared to how it was like maybe 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or whatever, it's branched out in so many different places that like was never really maybe intended, but now it's like a whole like nationwide kind of phenomenon, like Occupy Oakland, Occupy, you know, Seattle, Occupy like
Monterey.
everywhere. Like just from this one, maybe
Occupy
just
Santa
from like this
Cruz.
one sort of big stand on the Brooklyn Bridge, branched out across the whole entire country because of the internet.
Yeah. That's really
And most people like knew like what like because of the internet. They also people who didn't know what it was about could have found out what the whole thing was about. And like, oh, I agree with that. Maybe I'll go to like.
YouTube, especially. What was your question, Gabe?
Oh, I forgot. It was stupid.
I'm going to try to drill you back into the text here. You are Luo. You are the narrator. The internet is available to you in this story. Just insert that variable here. How does that? What do you do? How does that change your behavior on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis, or in terms of what's happened so far in the story?
I mean, do you think that Luo would have necessarily fallen in love with the little seamstress if he could talk to his friends in Shanghai on Facebook?
Ooh.
No.
Would he ever have gotten off Facebook and gone out and met this hot new girl? No?
Like we dressed as like
And he would have been
Rick
able to watch the movies.
Fields.
Seriously.
It's like, ew, it smells so bad in here.
LOL.
Like really, like.
Well, I don't think they would even be in this sort of position if the internet. Well, let's try to.
I think
I'm
we
gonna
don't
try to
realize
stick
how
towards
much
the text.
like influence the internet has. On us.
Yeah.
We just take it for granted.
Does technology control us?
Or do we control?
What?
Right.
That,
I think that we like invented the internet, but I think it's way out of.
It's out
we
of our
don't own the
control.
internet. The internet owns us.
I think we started it, but I don't think it's like Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's like
The Frankenstein could have killed the
it's
creator.
exactly
So
the
if
plan
Flo
of
had Facebook, would he be reading Balzac?
No.
He'd be on
He would be.
Facebook.
He would be on.
He'd be on Facebook liking a bunch of pages.
Or maybe he would be like, or even if he did read it, he'd stop every 15 minutes to update his status. So it wouldn't.
Oh yes,
Every 15 minutes?
I mean, Luo seems like
He'd
Facebook.
probably look it up.
What about?
Seems like a Facebook addict. What gives him the characteristics of a Facebook addict?
Human being.
Oh.
He's prone to addiction.
My
Sounds
dog
like
has
a
boy.
Facebook.
He's
He's prone to addiction. He smokes cigarettes.
a somewhat horny 19-year-old boy that likes to talk about himself.
Say horny, that cheater boy.
Perfect for Facebook.
More like not Facebook and others.
CJ, you're gonna be a.
Okay.
All right.
The quality of this conversation is deteriorating
Yeah,
quickly.
It was really solid. So just like, maybe it was my fault for interfering, but overall, I like the conversations today.
Fuck it out.
They gives you